All right, well, we will go ahead and get started. It is 1 o'clock Central. Thanks everyone for joining and joining on time. I'm sure we'll have a few people join us here over the next few minutes. I'm Jeff Dotzler, the president of Elevity. Thanks for joining us. And again, I'm joined with Paul Hager, director of solutions. And we have, I feel like a pretty important announcement and pretty important information to share with you all as we continue to evolve as an organization and evolve our solution set. And as the world around us continues to evolve and change, that it's critical that you have the right solutions in place to protect your organization, protect your information, and allow you to focus on growing your business. So over the next 55 minutes or so, we're excited to share some information, and we're glad to have you. Quick note, if you would like to ask questions, we'd love to hear from you as we go or at the end. There is a Q&A section in the Zoom control panel, just to the right of your mute button, that you can enter in questions. Those just come to us, and we will have an opportunity to answer those. There's also a chat option if you'd want to click and enter things in there. We can respond to that as well. So we're here to talk about an announcement around versions, and we'll be talking about that kind of as we go. First thing we wanted to do is just take a moment and thank you. Thank you for being a great client. Thank you for putting the trust in us as a partner to help support a really critical portion of your organization, which we think you've entrusted in us to protect those things and to give you the right tools to drive your business forward. So thank you for that. As I mentioned, your partnership in business is really important to us. We're blessed and fortunate to work with a great group of clients that really make work fun, interesting, and enjoyable, and we appreciate you for that. So thank you. When we were kind of waiting for everybody to join, I had this a similar slide up. When we got together with ITP and Gordon Flesch a year ago, one of the first things that we did, of course, it was in the middle of lockdown. We were all stuck in our homes and had to do this all remotely. But we really wanted to build out a set of principles that we would make our decisions on, the kind of organization that we wanted to be, the things that we wanted to focus on, and ensure that we made all of our big decisions based on these things. And I thought it was important for us to share that with you, because today what we're talking about and the things that we're going to put in front of you are really rooted in what we feel are principles that we hold true. The second sentence in that why do we exist is that we really feel that our task is to successfully support our clients to elevate their organization so they can in turn provide opportunities and services to our neighbors. We feel it is our obligation and our duty as your partner to ensure that you have the right pieces and parts in place as it relates to technology management, so that you can be comfortable, you can be confident, and that you can put all of your attention on the thing that is critical to your organization, whether that's practicing more law, making more widgets, supporting more constituents in your nonprofit, all of those things. And we do that by delivering strategy, security, solutions, and support. And we think that that's really critical. It's critical not only for us to deliver that to our clients to fulfill the promises that we've made, but in the world today, and with all of the changes that have happened and all of the security challenges that exist, we feel it's critical that we take a very kind of a strong step to ensure that you know the information and we give you the opportunity to make the decisions around those solutions because we feel it's critical. So what we plan to do today, what we hope that you take away from the end of our next 50 minutes is that, number one, we want you to be aware of what our process is for determining those best-in-class strategy, security, solutions, and support. We take a painstaking approach to ensure that we evaluate, vet, and are confident in the solutions that we put out in front of you, and we think it's important that you know that. Number two, it's important that you understand the risks and the needs that our forward-thinking clients are seeing today in the market, and that they're looking at us to address. And we feel that many of you are also forward-thinking leaders within your organizations, and it's important that you know this information so that you can make the right decisions. And lastly, we want you to understand a timeline of some things that we are putting in place that may have an impact on some of the solutions that you receive from us. As clients that were invited to this version of the webinar, you will not be asked to make any short-term decisions. You won't be asked to make any pivots in the solution sets that you get from us, but we want to make you aware of kind of a longer-term horizon that is coming, that will, everything in the future is here before we know it. that you'll need to start to make some decisions on. And we want to help walk you through that, make you feel comfortable with the information in the timeline, and to give you some next steps to consider that. For those that have joined a little after we got started, thank you for being here. Thank you for your partnership and your business. We do want to make sure that you have the opportunity to ask questions. So in the Zoom control panel, just to the right of the mute button is a Q&A icon. If you click that, you have the opportunity to enter in a question that will just come to Paul and I, and we will do our best to answer those both in context and before we're done here today. So what has changed in the world? This is a screen capture from a web page. I think it's called Information is Beautiful, and it reflects the data breaches and the security incidents that have happened recently. And the size of the circle is a reflection of how significant that breach is. And you can, there's some well-known names that you can see on these dots and some pretty big numbers. And while those are important things to know, and we all hear about the big ones, Microsoft's Exchange breach that happened recently, or some of these other large ones. The reality is that most small to medium businesses are constant and regular targets of attacks. And unfortunately, over the last 12 months, as we've all dealt with this pandemic, and almost, I think we are 366 days away. It was 1 year ago yesterday when the WHO proclaimed that we were in a pandemic and that COVID-19 was serious and we need to do something about it. We all immediately scurried and started to work from home, and the bad guys ramped up their efforts to try to capture information, try to disrupt businesses and profit along the way. So while we hear about these big things, the reality is that most of the incidents that are occurring to small and medium businesses for several reasons. And so it's really critical that you hear this information. If you attend any of our coffee breaks, which in those coffee breaks, you don't have the benefit of us being on video, you're welcome. We thought this was important enough that we did turn on our video. Well, we've been talking a lot about security, and we do that to educate, not to create fear, but it's reality. And for small to medium businesses, it's a critical thing to truly evaluate whether or not your business can sustain the impact of a target, and if not, what you can afford to put in place to try to either limit those attacks or the effects of those attacks or recover quickly. So those are some of the things we want to talk to you today about. As I mentioned earlier, happy to be joined by Paul Hager, Director of Solutions at Elevity, and he's going to take us through a few more details around the threat landscape and the things you should be considering.
Thanks, Jeff. Thank you, everybody, for taking some time and joining us today. And as always, for being a trusted partner and client of ours. One of the things we want to cover is not just what Jeff just talked about, not just the major Microsoft incident that was recently announced or some of the other security events that have happened in this last week. We hear about the big ones, those make the news. But the reality is 71% of cyber attacks target small businesses, which are our customers. And we're going to get to some data very specific to what we see in our own client footprint in the Midwest. And share some data about what we're seeing within our own account base from clients like you, maybe on this call, that are subscribed to some of our services in this area. It equals about 55,000 devices compromised by ransomware every month. And about 60% of small businesses won't be able to open their doors back up after a major cyber incident. A lot of the tools are meant for enterprise. A lot of the price points are meant for enterprise. And a lot of the focus goes there, which is what the bad guys know, which is why they target smaller businesses. We have a client going through a transaction right now, an M&A transaction. They're getting more phishing attacks in the last week than they've ever seen before. It just shows you that even in confidential transactions, even in transactions that are just announced, people are reading the news and using that as leverage to ramp up attacks. Which is really impactful to our small business customers. The average remediation cost, when you talk about loss of reputation, loss of revenue, downtime, bringing in fleets of people to resolve the issue, possibly having us or someone like us wipe every machine in your organization, which is the only real way to prove that the bad guys are potentially out, is to start over again, but maybe even have to buy all new hardware. I mean, it just starts to get, and the dollars start to get pretty significant pretty quickly. So, and you'll see some notes in blue here that we're going to kind of come back to, which is how our group our emerging solutions group aligns ourselves to see the challenges that our customers are facing and respond to those in kind with the types of solutions that we think businesses need, all wrapped in a managed service offering that's very consumable and easy for you to be able to enable through us. 30% of users open emails from attackers, and 10% will click on attachments or links, which is why you need to have a really well-defined and repeated security awareness training program. 63% of passwords are weak, default, or stolen. We had a major security camera vendor have a default admin password that caused a very large breach in their organization. Wasn't protected by two-factor authentication, which is your password plus some other factor, an email, a text, a phone call. Your users, whether you like it or not, even if you've done good security awareness training, are likely reusing the password they're using in their corporate world, in their personal world as well. So as you see a personal app like MyFitnessPal on the major breach incident, if they repeated that password in your company, unfortunately that makes that vulnerable as well, which is why you really need to have two-factor authentication enabled everywhere. I know that extra step can be a challenge. Rolling it out, training and getting adoption can be a challenge, but we really view it as a modern day requirement because passwords are just going to be inherently fairly easy to defeat unless you have really gone through 11 characters or more, special characters and all those sorts of good things. 53% of users will accidentally share information that they don't intend to and or be kind of duped by the very common pretending to be the CEO, CFO, asking one of your users to go get some Google Play gift cards, scratch off the back of them and send a picture of them. We see it every week. And unfortunately, it's a user training and a little bit of technology can get ahead of that, but a lot of it is opportunities around training. 91% of bad days start with email. Email is the primary threat vector. It's the primary method of attack because everyone has email. They know that they can target the end of the days on Fridays, early in the day on Monday. They are following patterns that they know that we operate in the United States and are using that to their advantage to get people to click on links and download things that will eventually bring a payload into the environment. 15% of victims of attackers fall victim a second time. Fortunately, we have seen this as well in the Midwest and with customers and friends where we have found people have already been hit once, have fallen victim to a phishing attempt and maybe sent money, wired money, or bought gift cards or done something, and they still fall victim a second time. It just shows how much we have to be vigilant and how repetitive we need to be. Lastly, 95% of phishing attacks that led to a breach were ultimately followed by some form of software installation. So they come in through email, and that is typically where they're going to deliver their payload. And then from there, they're going to be able to move within your environment. If you don't have some sort of advanced threat protection or some sort of tool that is looking at behaviors of machines, not just knowing the definition or name of a bad file. And it was exactly what we saw with the recent vulnerability in Microsoft's on-premise Exchange product. So if you had Microsoft's on-premise Exchange, not their cloud-based product, Office 365, but if you still leveraged a on-premise email server that had a Outlook web access portal still running, the bad guys had found a vulnerability in that previously unknown to Microsoft. We're leveraging that to gain access to all emails within the email database itself. We had some customers that had on-premise Exchange systems that were subscribed to our newest advanced threat protection product. And even though Microsoft hadn't explained the vulnerability, even though they didn't know about it, our SOC had alerted on that activity already in real time as it was occurring and was at least able to defend against the additional payload being brought in. Can't prevent every vulnerability. Bad code by Microsoft is still presents risk, and just like it always does. We saw it with SolarWinds, we see it with Microsoft, but there are additional tools you can put into place, and we are seeing in real time the solutions that our committee is deciding on have positive impacts and solve bad days every single week. On the left here is a picture of all of the security vendors, right? So with all of this challenge that we see, we're not the only ones who see it. And so it has caused the market to respond, and the market responds by spawning new ideas, new companies, and a lot of investment being made to design the latest shiny security object in the world. It's just a picture of all the vendors, all the logos involved in creating security solutions. And while some of these are market leading and very, we think are really good, you lean on us to distill this market down, analyze who is the best of the best in this group, and who has an offering that's really going to deliver on business impact and business outcomes, not just the shiniest new thing, but somebody that has stability, that can deliver on a value proposition, and ultimately provide that value back to you and your small business, as we are business owners ourselves. So we do that. That vetting process is done by what's called our Emerging Solutions Evaluation Committee. And that's a group internally here at Elevity that I lead. It contains no salespeople. It is entirely technical and engineering driven. It has folks from our field engineering team, our service desk, our project team, our VCIOs, our solution architects. So cross-functional across all of our technical areas. And we have scorecards that we've developed, and we are always evaluating new technology and new security vendors, new backup vendors, whatever it is, because that's our job. You lean on us. You never see an invoice from us for ESG work or the work of that group. That's all done on your behalf because we need to continue to evolve and evaluate, because IT is a treadmill that is moving backwards. And if you're not moving forward, being proactive and constantly adapting, then you're getting behind. That is part of what excites our team, and what gets us up every day is the constant change in nature of IT. Many of you on this call, you are business owners, you are business managers and leaders in your organization, and IT is not your primary discipline. And that's why you lean on a partner like us, and we appreciate that. So just like if we were your CIO, if we were your technology team, you would lean on us to vet solutions and bring forward new ideas. And that's what our ESC does. We're constantly evaluating it. We just saw a vendor last week that has, a very interesting approach to security that is slightly different. Ultimately, we don't think they're mature enough or ready to go to the market with the size and scale of the customers that we have. And so that's what we do. We're going to stay in touch. We're going to see how their solutions evolve. And decide when it's the right time to bring it into our offering and bring it into our managed offerings for customers like everyone on this call. One thing we do want to share today is our firm belief in a few areas about what IT looks like and what IT looks like to be done really, really well. We believe IT done really well means that we handle IT for you so you can focus on your core business. And I'll stop and pause there for a moment, because we do have some clients on this call probably where you are the IT individual and we play a supportive role to you and your success. And to those people, I just want to take a brief moment to talk about what we're talking about today is our primary go-to-market strategy for under 100 users, customers, where they look to us to fully manage their IT. If you were invited to this call, likely because you're buying blocks of services from us, we super appreciate and value the relationship. When you talk to your account manager, we do have a mid-market program where we do have some different, more project-based approaches that are available to you. So here, when we talk about fully managed IT and taking over IT leadership and strategy focus, if you're saying to yourself, wait a minute, I thought that's my role. What are you guys doing? No problem. We definitely have a focus for you and a group that focuses on that market within our customer base. And like Jeff said, we just want to share some long-term vision that we have with everybody here today, so you hear it from us. This is absolutely not something that's going to be immediately impactful to your organization, or we're taking anything away. So we appreciate your business and continue to work with us. And we want to support you in your IT role and make you very successful in how you deliver IT within your organization. We believe, though, that the right approach to an outsourced IT provider is ultimately that the risk should be on us, that we shouldn't have a relationship where we want your best interests, we want to prevent bad days from happening, but you have a block of hours, so it would be okay if a certain amount of bad stuff happened, not really bad, but a certain amount of bad stuff happened, so that you would go over your block of hours and need to pay additional money to us. That dynamic is not something that's really exciting to us and puts us in the position to be the most successful on your behalf and really drive to make sure that you have an all-inclusive agreement, which means that the minute it becomes all-inclusive and there isn't an incentive in any way for any of our team to do anything other than the absolute 1000% best, and even to take the time to go beyond that, Maybe if we're in some form of hourly engagement, we want to be respectful of your dollars. And so we're going to only do what's needed to stop that problem, not also the other 4 hours of work to make sure it never, ever happens again in the rare case it might. Well, when we're in a managed program where it's all inclusive, we're going to go the whole extra mile because we don't want that issue to repeat at all because we need to keep our overall number of calls and tickets down. That's the type of arrangement where we have the primary seat of responsibility. Again, when you're in our under 100 user fully managed approach, that's ultimately where we feel we have the best position to be successful for you. We also feel like strategy should be at the core of everything, not just products, not just buying services, not just picking the coolest service and deploying it, but you should have access to some really great IT strategists, people that get to know your business, understand the direction your business is going, and align that and be available to you also in that all-inclusive approach. And that's our virtual CIO group. And we're going to talk a little bit later more about the important addition that came in the VCIO group when ITP and GFC came together. That's really strong VCIO group, people with 10 to 20 years of IT experience being available to help you with those strategies, whether you're moving, whether you're doing more work from home, whether you're returning to work, all the questions that come along with that, they become your adjunct IT executive and are available to you on an unlimited basis, and then also provide fantastic quarterly business reviews that really align to your organization. And lastly, we want to make sure, given all the risks we just highlighted, that everyone on this call has the opportunity to see, understand, and align to us with the modern security technologies that you may need to combat the modern demands coming from the bad guys. And ultimately, every organization, if you've been with us for a long time, you might have seen this before. Maybe like, this is a document we use when we meet people for the very first time. I also see we have some clients on here that have been clients of ours for 9-10 years, which is fantastic. Thank you. And you may not remember this being presented in the first time your sales team ever met with you. But no matter what, whether you're on this call with 5 users, 50 users, or 500, your organization will need the IT functions of your business to cover all 4 quadrants of this. You will need strategic support, someone that creates the IT vision, helps manage the budget, determine the appropriate staffing model, the right people, the right vendors, the right internet providers, stuff that we don't even do, the right internet providers, the right fax machines, whatever it may be in your organization, you need someone helping you with those strategies. Then you're going to need technical people. And technical means a lot these days. There's a lot of different devices and more being created every single day. And so you have phones, you have mobile devices, you have laptops, you have desktops, you have virtual servers, physical servers, cloud servers. All these technologies, all these vendors have training programs that we have to go through to be certified, that take time and effort to stay on top of, and those products change every 3 months. So we stay on top of that for you. We can do the really high level technical expertise that requires high level certification. We can also do that administrative work. We have developed here at Elevity over the last 6 to 8 months, one of the most robust remote support teams that staffed up to 12 individuals now, a 50% growth in that staffing group to provide you with that level 1 and level 2 immediate phone call and chat support. And lastly, you need also the operational piece, policy writing, BYOD policies, industry compliance, which is becoming more and more. We are getting new acronyms, it seems, every single year, GDPR, CMMC. It continues to drive that people need to meet new industry requirements, and who in your team has that time, skill, and expertise to do that. So you need all of these areas. And the good news is Elevity has people that are trained that do this not only in one, but get the opportunity to see the breadth of this across a multitude of clients and can bring all of that value back to every one of you. So what we're trying to share is that if you fall into the category to be fully managed, we want to check all these boxes for you. And your current relationship with us might have 2 or 3 of these items or a part of these. We really want to share today and give you the opportunity to hear directly from Jeff and I that we'd love you to be in our fully engaged program, because we have customers in that are really seeing the value from it because it aligns with what we see going on in the industry. Not because we want everyone on this call to be upsold. That's not what today is about. Today is about sharing with how our ESE develops new versions, why we develop those new versions in response directly to demand and customer threats, and how we ultimately want to deliver that to you.
Great, thank you, Paul. So we want to spend a little time on this document, and some of you may have seen some of this over the last several months when you've been having SBRs or meeting with some of our team. But I think we've put together a whole bunch of important information on one slide. I wanted to take a quick run over this to educate you a little bit on what has transpired over the last year as these two organizations have come together and who Elevity is today. One of the things that was part of our principles, if you saw at the beginning, is that we want to be a metric-based, a data-driven organization. We want to be really looking at the key indicators that tell us whether or not we're doing a good job, whether or not we have the right resources, whether or not we have the right solutions in place. And this highlights a few of those ways that we're measuring it. Paul just mentioned in our service desk, an area that we are super proud of and have invested a lot in, and we're seeing great client feedback from, is our service desk. We've gone through that pod approach that many of you experienced recently, where you potentially shifted from one pod to the next. Maybe you were just part of a service desk and didn't even know that there was a pod, and all of a sudden one day you were in pod alpha. But we've really developed our service desk, and we're excited about that. When you call our service desk and open up a ticket, you get a survey. We ask you to tell us on a scale of 1 to 5 in 3 different categories, how well did that experience go? And we're pretty excited about the fact that you're telling us that on average 4.92, we're averaging a 4.92 score out of 5 on those tickets. So thank you for your response. We all get over surveyed. We do recognize that, but we really do appreciate the feedback that you provide us. It helps us to improve, helps us to give better service the next time. And if it was a bad experience, those do get to the leadership team immediately, and we want to take quick action to resolve that issue right away. Additionally, another thing that we're really working on and want to have you experience is a first call resolution. When you reach out either through chat or through phone, that we get the issue resolved without having to escalate it. Now, not all issues need to stay with the person that received the call, and we want to also track how oftentimes tickets should get escalated, because the last thing we want happening for you is a really complicated issue sitting with a level 1 person when it should have immediately gone to a higher level. But 91% of the time, when you call or chat with us, we are resolving that issue on that first interaction. Our goal is to get to 95%, and once we achieve 95%, I'm sure we'll want it to be even better. But we're really focused on ensuring that when you have an issue, we are getting it resolved as quickly as we can. And those statistics are across almost 4,000 tickets that we received in the first quarter. Our team is about 56 people today. We've identified, we continue to grow and continue to invest in areas that make the most sense. The lion's share of those resources are in what we call our service delivery team, engineering that you see in the field, the service desk team, our service delivery team that you interact with on a regular basis and schedule the engineers to get out to you. All really great people, super excited about supporting our clients. That group of people of 56 averages 7 years of being with our organization. We hire people with experience, so they aren't 7 years of being in the industry. They're 7 years of being with us and have a lot of experience that they bring to the table. And collectively, about 293 years of collective experience with our organization and in supporting our clients. So what that means to you is, while you may work with a small pod in our service desk, you may work with one field engineer, they have people behind them. If you remember the old Verizon commercials, the guy that would stand there and there'd be a whole bunch of people behind him. That's the kind of program that we're trying to build out. Of course, that guy is now at Sprint, so that whole thing kind of fell apart. But there's a group of people who are trained, who are skilled, who are experienced, that the resources you work with, if they're not one of those trained, skilled people on that one issue, they have resources that they can reach out to. Many of you have probably heard about the Net Promoter Score as a way to measure how well you're doing. And every quarter we send out a survey to all clients. And again, thank you for those that have responded. And it asks one question: on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to refer Elevity to someone else that you know, a colleague, another business unit, or something like that? And 9s and 10s are positive and get added up. 8 responses that are 8s don't count for anything, and anything 7 or below is identified as a detractor, and so it takes away from your score. So this last quarter, we had a 65, which we're very proud of. We are not totally satisfied. We know that there's improvements that can be made, and we want to continue to move that number up. But when you look at the industry, the technology space, 30 to 40 is identified as good. And there's a couple well-known names in the technology space that you can see as comparison. So we're happy with 65. We hope that you're having a similar experience where you feel like, that Elevity is a great partner and you would recommend us to someone else. If you don't, we'd love to hear that as well. But when these surveys do come out, we'd love for you to answer those because it does give us an idea of where we're at. For those of you that don't know Gordon Flesch as an organization, so one of the largest office equipment dealers in the Midwest. Our footprint is in Wisconsin, 3 main locations there: Chicago, Indianapolis, Columbus, Indiana, Bloomington, Indiana, as well as Columbus, Ohio. So kind of that upper Midwest outside of or without Michigan. We're about a $160 million organization, close to 650 employees. And Elevity, the IT division of GFC, is at about 16 million. So again, what does all of that mean to you? Why does that matter? We're a financially strong, very stable organization. Gordon Flesch is celebrating the 65th year anniversary of being founded. So we're a strong organization that's very stable and will be around to support your needs. Not a fly-by-night organization by any means. About 7,739 seats that we manage currently, and our seats to engineer ratio, which is another one of those metrics that we track, is at 227 to 1, which might sound like a big number. Industry standards are 200 to 300. And of course, there's a lot of resources behind the scenes that are making sure that systems are automated, actions are taken without people having to do things, really trying to be as efficient as we can to drive not only quick resolution to your issues, but work to keep our costs as low as possible. On the technology section down at the bottom, I think an important thing to know is that we are investing heavily in our knowledge, our expertise in some of the advancing technologies, specifically cloud, and how organizations are making that shift that has really ramped up in the last 12 months with the work from home approach. We've seen significant growth in our partnership with Microsoft and their cloud tools, as well as significant growth in hyper-converged applications and solutions that are being deployed. Some more current infrastructure technology. Paul had mentioned earlier about all of the security issues that are out there. And while it's easy to hear those stories and think, wow, that's a different organization, they must be bigger, they must have had more information that somebody was interested in. But the reality is that within our client base, of those 7,739 seats in and amongst 400 clients, we are seeing about 3.5 attacks per day within our client base. Our tools are stopping, our information is telling us that there are attacks happening within the small to medium businesses that we support. So it isn't just somebody else. It isn't just the organizations on the coasts. It is small to medium businesses in the upper Midwest that have chosen to work with Elevity are seeing these types of activities. And one thing that we're proud of is that we are able to respond quickly because of the solutions that we've put in place for those clients. That on an average basis, we are responding very quickly to those, and the tools are able to stop those issues, alert the people that need to be alerted, and get us back to moving in the right direction. Additionally, we're going to talk about the versions in a couple slides, but we also really invest in our resources and invest in our talent and our teams to ensure that they have the latest technology and the tools that we put out in our clients, as well as ensuring that we have the knowledge to support the issues that come up. So we're proud of the awards and certifications that we have, and just wanted to give you a little glimpse of who Elevity is today. So I talked about versions. We're going to talk more about how we're categorizing versions, how we're building versions, and what's important to you. So Paul, take us through that, please. Oh, Paul, you're on mute. And in fact, I think I jumped ahead. I was going to take this slide. So
You're on this one.
We are live. So Elevity versions. We have spent a fair amount of time trying to categorize our solution sets that our customers use into, excuse me, 3 different versions. And we'll talk about them. I'm going to ask you to take this, Paul.
Yep, no worries. We're using versions as a way to explain where you are in your technology journey with us, knowing that we had really the merger of not only ICP and GFC, but also JGI out of Indiana. That brought together a lot of different offerings. And so one of the ways that we can be effective and provide a better result for you is to provide consistency in the experience and consistency in what the offering is. So a version kind of identifies just an easier way to talk about, rather than saying you're on the ITP plan from 2018. This is a coherent way that we can just advise you on where you're at in your journey. and just gives you, lets us know where you are, where we hope you will get to, and kind of what some of the timelines are around supporting that. It also gives us a way to continue to talk about the next version. Just that's a reason why there's always a Windows 10 and then a Windows 11 and a Windows 12. Though they tell us 10 is the last number they'll ever use, we'll see. But they've used that because it helps people just understand when they need to upgrade and when there are new features and when you need to take broader steps. So our current version, as you saw in the previous slide, is what we're calling 3.5 or 3.5. So we have everything from 1.0 to 3.5 in solutions. And if you're on this call, you fall somewhere in those solution offerings. We're going to describe just a little bit about how we came up with those. And it's just a way that we can describe it so you can understand where you're at in your journey. And we can help give you options for staying in that version or looking at a version upgrade and what benefits you would achieve from moving into that upgrade. It also helps us identify 3.5 as our current offering. We will be coming out with a 3.6 or 3.7 by the end of the year. Our ESE is actively working on reviewing vendors and reviewing the needs of our organizations. Likely that's going to include some additional level of security monitoring all the way at the bit and byte level within the network. We're going to pass all network traffic through a sensor in order to pick up anything that any of the other tools may not, and tie that all together, tie our email security, our endpoint security, our service security, all into one SOC, one security operations center, looking at and being able to correlate a phishing email coming in to a payload going on a desktop to a payload going to the server. We want to complete that vision and insight into the network. And then, as always, technology is great, but it ultimately comes down to the people on top of that. Who does that alert go to and what action do they take? And are they available 24/7, 365? Because the bad guys don't take a break. So that's kind of future escape where we're seeing our 3.6 and 3.7 offering going towards. It doesn't mean that everyone will have to move to that immediately, but that's kind of what we wanted to talk through. So these are the three versions. We're going to have what we call a software licensing only group. Software licensing only means you use us likely for best-in-class offerings around the Microsoft cloud stack. We are one of the largest providers of Microsoft licensing in the Midwest. We're in the top 2% and one of only 400 Microsoft managed partners on the planet. A group that Microsoft continues to whittle down to only those that continue to show repeat success and being able to help manage cloud and licenses for Microsoft. If you haven't seen the recent announcements or our team hasn't talked to you about it, Microsoft is moving almost fully into that subscription model and won't let you purchase open licenses for on-premise hardware in less than a year at this point. So cloud providers like us that have expertise in Microsoft licensing rules can help you figure out how to optimize your investment in some of the new licensing rules that are coming down the road. And we're going to be there and that's going to be available to any customer for a really, really long time. And we think we have a great strategic advantage over other competitors in that space. If you're on this call, you probably don't fall into this category because we had a separate call for this group. But our 1.0 customers may buy some of our technology solutions from us, but believe that IT should be entirely reactive. They don't believe that we should be proactively coming on site, proactively addressing issues that may be going on in the organization, but want to just call when things break. And we really don't feel like this is aligned with what's in the best interests of our customers and their businesses. Because when you say it's okay for bad things to happen in IT, that bad thing could be as simple as something just going wrong and a user not being productive for an hour, or it could be a cyber attack that's taking the whole business down. And we don't think that's a good partnership. And we want to continue to move towards some of our more proactive block hour approaches, or towards hopefully our all-inclusive, where we manage the breadth of your IT approach. Many of you on this call fall into somewhere between our 2.0 and our 3.0 offering. That means at the 2.0 level, you probably have some form of recurring block engagement with us, where we are proactively managing some portion of your environment. Thank you for seeing the value and being proactive in your IT and not reactive in your IT. You may be one of those that have some of those proactive blocks, maybe unlimited service desk in some way. You've gone all inclusive in some portion of your agreement with us, which is fantastic. Maybe you start consuming blocks or some hourly CIO work from us. So we provide some strategy on a more transactional basis when it's needed. Then you have those that came from the GFC side of the acquisition that are joined on this call. You all started at the 3.0 version, where you have made the leap not only to proactive approaches to IT, but you have moved into having the availability of strategy whenever you need it in our virtual CIO program with one of our 5 gentlemen that offer fantastic advice and help you manage and plan for your business. 3.2 was announced within GFC when they brought on the additional security offerings of that advanced threat protection tool, the one I talked about that helped prevent the breach for the Exchange server, where there was a SOC available to see the type of behavior going on in Exchange and be proactive about stopping it, even though Microsoft had yet to even identify that it was an issue. Some of you have stayed at that 3.0 and didn't move into some of the higher security offerings. And we're going to talk about kind of what those approaches are, but hopefully today maybe inspired you to think about some of those, seeing some of the data. We started with some Verizon threat report data in the circles that I shared. Again, from Jeff, as he walked through the Elevity dashboard, those 4 attacks a day are real, and they're coming from just our customer base. And it's that 4 attacks are only being stopped by those that are in our 3.2 or higher most comprehensive security package that are using our, our advanced threat protection tool with our SOC attached to it. Our 3.5 offering, which we're going to talk about today, in case any of you may not have heard it yet, but you will from our account management team, has our strongest security alignment yet that we have available from vendors that we feel are fully vetted and ready. If you've signed a recent renewal with us, we appreciate it and thank you. If it is a brand new agreement or a new renewal with your VCIO and our full security and standard user bundle, congratulations, you're in that 3.5 version today. So why are we going through this? Why are we talking to you about each of these steps? Part of it is obviously to provide consistency and create a common language as we talk about it, as we invest and create a 3.6. There actually isn't a big price difference between our 3.2 and our 3.5. So for some customers in this call that are in that category, we can upgrade you for very little cost. So we're not always here to create new versions, just when we are creating more dollars. That is a factor of what tools we need to have in there and what relationships and what time investment and value we provide within there. But just like your Office 365 updates and your Teams gets a new feature, sometimes these version upgrades that are minor, we're going to be able to roll those version upgrades to you. We are in a early test and pilot program for a integrated middleware tool that goes through all of our cloud vendors and also logs and analyzes them for additional security threats and brings that to our service desk team. That's an upgrade you're receiving, and it doesn't matter which version you're in there. By factor of being in a 2.0 or higher agreement, we're always improving, always investing. For those that are on this call from our former ITP client base, thank you for your continued support. You didn't have an option for chat support with our service desk. That is now going to be coming, as well as we're going to be looking at and evaluating text-based support as well. So we're always evolving. These are new features, and we are invested in this business. GFC is invested in this business, and we're going to move it forward for you. And that doesn't always mean, we're not always talking about, hey, your contract needs to get more. That's not the point of today's call. It's to understand why we build these and how we're always trying to derive more value that aligns with what the organizations we see in the industry need. So our next slide kind of walks through some of the timeline of this. And we will share both today's recording and today's content, so you don't need to furiously write any of these things down. For our 1.0 customers that just use us for time and material support, again, those that are in that under 100 user target range, those folks, we're asking that they renew one more time with us and only for about 12 months. So nothing urgent. They have 15 months. We understand we're just coming out of COVID, that people will need time to adjust. Maybe they'll have fixed budgets. Maybe they need to talk with people in their organization about shifts in support. But those are purely time materials and have no blocks of hours with us that are being proactive. We let them know that we'd like them to make a change in the next 15 months to their relationship with us. If you're on this call, you likely fall into that 2.0 or higher category. You'll see if you're in the 2.0 lifecycle, what we're asking you to do is move towards strategy and security. You are doing blocks of hours, you're being proactive, you likely have many of the security features that we would hope that you would have that's in our fully managed 3.5 offering. But you don't have that dedicated VCIO that you can work with, that is an adjunct member of your team that you can reach out to anytime on an unlimited basis to help provide advice and guide some of these discussions and decisions moving forward. And you may also be missing part of that critical security offering. We're asking you to really, over the next 3 to 4 years, is how long we think that this program will be a good fit at this point for our customer organization. So lots of ramp, and we want you to hear it again. We are honoring every agreement that is out there. We are not here today to change any relationship that we have with you at this exact moment. But what we're not going to do, and I'm sure some people have wondered as the organizations come together, I wonder what changes they will make. I wonder how things will change. Hopefully you're hearing today how more organized, how formal, how methodical our approach is to managing and delivering best-in-class offerings to you around strategy, security, solutions, and support. And so hopefully you want to be that long-term partner with us 4 years from now. So we don't want anything to be a surprise. So we wanted to share with you directly from Jeff and I the direction that the organization is taking, so you know and you have a long time to prepare for what is right for your organization. We've all been small business owners or business owners in our own, or been responsible for businesses between Jeff and I. We know the importance of being able to plan, budget, and predict where your costs are going as an organization and how to align those, which is why I want to give people a lot of time to consider that. For those that are on this call, that are in our fully managed program, have a dedicated VCIO, but have been reluctant to take maybe that next step when it comes to security, we want you to hear today that these risks are real, and we hope that you make that next step with us to ensure that your organization is fully and properly protected. You'll see that those of you that have that VCIO and are fully have an all-inclusive approach with us, you are in what we're calling our current revision, and that does not have any sort of end of support date associated with it that we've announced at this point, which is safe to say that we want to have, like with everyone on this call, a continued and ongoing relationship. But we are going to continue to talk about 3.5 and 3.6, 3.7, and our team is going to share with you every one of those advances. And we hope as we share the why our ESE added those items or changed what the offering is, it's not always adding, but sometimes it's changing out an approach. We want you to hear that and understand where it comes from and why we're doing it. So for many of you, this is the first time you're hearing about our virtual CIO program. I think I've talked about this already throughout today's presentation where it was relevant, but these people are technical. They have 10 plus years of technology knowledge, but they are not taking any technical tickets. They work no tickets. They are only here at a small group of customers' disposal. They're typically assigned to around 40 customers or less with all sorts of, and you go, 40, that's a big number. How can they help? It's all varying degrees of what organizations need our virtual CIO group for. We have some virtual CIOs that work with 17 accounts, but they're going to be there. They're going to be responsive to you, and we're always managing their workload and looking at when we need to add additional staff to this group. But our commitment is that they are available to you to respond, to help you make decisions around technology, even areas that aren't ours. So we don't sell QuickBooks, for example, but it's critical to your financials, and you need to figure out how to move that to the cloud. A virtual CIO is going to help provide you those options, even if those options are not purchased through Elevity. They are here to represent your best interests and guide and make a technology plan for your organization. Those that are in our fully managed program in 3.0 or higher that have a virtual CIO get strategic business reviews at least every quarter. They're always available to you, but we want to sit down in a meaningful way every quarter and provide you an analysis of how your environment is doing, what additional recommendations that we have, and then they also write and maintain a 3-year technology plan for your organization. So you have a long-term vision plan, budget, security plan. It can help with all the documentation, even some light compliance work, though we have more advanced team members that work specifically on compliance issues. But they're going to be there to help manage that process and be a part of your organization and guide that through these really valuable SBRs. Again, we apologize for all the surveys that we send, but it is really critical to our business and has helped us as we grow. We are sending post SBR surveys, and our average on those is a 9.9 out of 10. our customers extremely value the work that our VCIOs do, and it's been very impactful for their organizations. So this is not something you're leveraging with our group today and fall into that under 100 user category where IT is not your primary business and you want to outsource it. I'd ask that you consider adding one of these people to your team through our most current program. Our 3.5 has a few security enhancements. It includes new email security features that ensure continuity in the event that Office 365 or Gmail goes down. It has additional advanced anti-phishing or impersonation events. It has link protection, so every link gets protected. If your users click on it, instead of it sending them to the website where the payload would be, it doesn't download it for them. We integrate security training and risk scoring for every employee in the organization. And it's training that's interesting and fun, and we think that your team will actually engage in. That's been included and is a part of our 3.5 program that wasn't in our 3.0 program before. We saw this because of the statistics around, and added this because we saw that most bad days start through email. We responded to that by finding a Gartner leading provider that handles and we believe is best in class, and wrapped that with our services and delivered an enterprise grade product that's normally not available to any organization that has under 50 users. And we've been able to provide that to you regardless of the size of your organization. It's a unique value proposition and a unique tool that really only Elevity in the market has fully integrated into its managed service offering. The next enhancement is that need for password protection, making sure that every organization, regardless of what platform you use, we have the appropriate licensing to enable multi-factor authentication on all of your cloud services. We also believe that having some monitoring of the dark web for any known passwords, breaches in other organizations or other alerts, and responding to those not on reports monthly, but in real time, going through our own service desk and through our SOC is really what's most important. And this is, again, in response to the fact that we believe, despite our best training efforts, that people will still use weak passwords, or those passwords will get stolen even when they are secure because they're being reused in other locations. So we really feel a two-factor authentication on everything that can be authenticated in that way should be enabled.
All right, great. Thanks, Paul. And I found my voice. So I know it feels like we just started, but we are nearing the end. So if you have any questions that are kind of pending or you're thinking about and you want to throw them into the Q&A section, we will get those answered here in a second. But I just want a quick reminder of the resources that you have available and the things that we are developing and have in place to take care of you. Obviously, I would hope that you hear from your account manager on a regular basis and have the opportunity to share ideas and goals and things that you're working on. We've gone through the VCIO. That's a really critical role, and I think a real value proposition that we have available and that our clients are taking advantage of. So we're excited about that group. We've heavily invested in our service desk team. The performance that they deliver on a daily basis is just fantastic. We think we have a really great group of people in that role that are happy to work with you on a daily basis at many levels, from level 1 to level 3 across several different pods. And then, of course, our service delivery specialists, the folks that work to ensure that your engineers get scheduled the right way, that your invoice questions get answered, that just you have that day-to-day resource that you can reach out to get your questions answered. So we hope to continue to leverage that within our relationship and in our partnership and ensure that, again, that we're taking on as much of that IT burden that you'd like us to, so that you can focus on your business and your growth. So what do we do next? What is there to do next? Really, the main thing for you to do is to absorb some of this content. There isn't any action item that you have to take immediately. We will be in touch. Our account managers will be reaching out to you. Well, the first thing we'll do is send you an email with the link to this recording as well as the deck. But we'll be contacting you to discuss when it would be the right time for us to discuss this further. There's a reminder that there is no change to anything, no change to your agreements, no change to anything that you need to be thinking about for a while. Of course, we can always change quickly if there's something that really does impact what you feel that you need. We could put those in place, as soon as we can get the details worked out. But there isn't anything that you're asked to do that you have to do in the short term, other than to start to consider whether or not some of the things that we mentioned resonate and that you really want to consider. We also ask that you continue to engage with us in discussion about the best way to partner and the best way to support your organization. every business is different. Every business has unique challenges. Every business has unique goals. The only way we can help you achieve those things if we're aware of them. Part of our technology roadmap, part of our SBR process with the VCIOs is to get a good understanding of really where the business needs to go and what challenges exist to either slow that down or to derail that progress. Our goal is to help infuse some energy behind it, technically from a technology perspective, and help you achieve those goals faster. So if we can engage in a discussion about how to best support you in doing that, we want to do that and would like to do that soon. So we are 55 minutes in. We are happy to answer any questions that might come up and be available to any discussions. But again, be on the lookout for the emails with the recap of the information, as well as a contact from your account manager to schedule a discussion about what would be best for you. Paul, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at any questions, anything that's come in that's worth us throwing out to the group.
Yeah, I've just been taking a moment. Thanks for everyone who's asked a few questions. I'm responding to each of you right now. Know again that your account managers will follow up with everybody that's on this call. There's nothing super urgent, as Jeff just reminded everyone again, but some of you might be excited about what some of these offerings are, and we're want to make sure that we do follow through and follow up on every one of these. So what Jeff and I have done from each of these sessions is take who joined us today, who took time out of their day to learn about our offerings, share that with our account management team so that they take the time to reach out to you. Thank you again for being a client, and thank you again for taking your time today. We want to, your time is one of the most valuable things you can give us, and so we want to make sure we've presented those options to you, and they should be presented as options. You should be presented a renewal in a a 2 dot whatever agreement that you are in, and also an option to move forward. We are always going to be an organization that gives you each of those options and lets you as the business owner decide what's right for you. But hopefully you can understand from today a little bit around what we're having, why we're doing the things that we are doing.
So a question did just come in, and I think this is probably a question that's on everyone's mind, is what version am I in? Because those buckets of versions maybe don't perfectly align with what you have. And that's true. We did our best to try to come up with the categories and the versions that made the most sense. So that's probably the first question that we'd want your account manager to deliver to you is, here's the version that you're on. Here's what, here's maybe where there's some crossover or a piece and a part that you have from one thing to the next. And here's some of the things that we would want to talk about to move to a different or a newer version of what would be best for you. So great question. We will make sure that we get back to you with that information with your account manager as soon as possible.
Yep, and I just shot a message to that particular question. So I provided her what version she's in, which is a little bit unique, and we appreciate their partnership as well over the years, but as we do for everyone. Any other questions that we could answer for folks? Otherwise, again, your account managers will follow up. They've got your super double secret version, which isn't a secret. Great. Well, if there aren't any questions, thank you to everyone that joined us. We'll stay on for another minute or so in case somebody is in the middle of typing one. Have a great weekend. Thanks for joining us, and we look forward to continuing our partnership.